Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark Season 2, Episode 8. It's called Endings and Beginnings. So, full spoilers for the episode as always. And if you happen to have forgotten the title of the first episode this season, it was...
Let me guess, was it Beginnings and Endings?
Yes, it was, yes.
Because I didn't actually remember that, but I just I had a sneaking suspicion.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a hard thing to guess, but makes me think of a couple of Smashing Pumpkins songs, because they have two versions of the same song. One's called The Beginning is the End is the Beginning, and the other one's called The End is the Beginning is the End. And they're both the same lyrics and basic song.
Do you know what? I feel like we've brought this up before, and I feel like it might have been in Dark Season 1.
It may have been, but yeah, The Beginning is the End is the Beginning is the one I like. It's the darker, more subdued version, whereas the other one's the more kind of upbeat one.
Okay.
Just what I'll put that out there. It's the one good thing that came out of the Batman and Robin soundtrack. That's all I'm saying. So this is the dark finale. I bet you didn't think we were going to start off the finale of this with talking about the Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, we like to keep you on your toes.
Everyone's like, skip everything else, talk about the last scene. We'll get there, all right? We'll get there.
They're like, look, all these revelations, things, and we're like, yeah, but Smashing Pumpkins.
Well, we actually start with a revelation.
We do. We've been saying it for a while now.
Yes, I believe around episode 2 or 3 of this season, I said, and I quote, "Someone's going to be their own grandparent. I'm calling it now." That was the sentence I said. And now we have our answer. Who's drew the lucky ticket? Elizabeth is her own grandmother. She is Charlotte's mother. And my first instinct was to go, oh great, more incest. And then I thought about it and I went, actually, there is no incest in this.
No, it's not.
There's no incest. I mean, there's a weird cyclical thing to it, but there's no incest involved.
No. It's another one of the kind of the paradoxes, like Jonas existing, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
She can only exist because she gives birth to her own daughter. So it's weird, right?
Oh, it's weird. It's this infinite loop that can never be broken, because she has to
remove both of them from existence.
Yeah, she has to give birth to her daughter so that her daughter can give birth to her, and her daughter can only give birth to her if her mother's already gave birth to her.
Yes,
and
exactly.
That was confusing to say, but I'm sure I'm sure you got what I meant.
It did make perfect sense. You're fine.
Yes, but yeah, but that was because I almost jokingly went, "Oh, incest." I was like, "No, wait a minute. Let me think about this. Noah and Elizabeth being together is not incestuous.
There's no relation.
Yeah." And Charlotte and Peter being together is no one. I mean, until we learn more about Peter and Noah, maybe suggests otherwise. But
yeah. No, the only thing is that it's a bit creepy, perhaps, between Noah and Elizabeth. It's
creepy, but like unlike Jonas with Martha, especially once he knew, like say in this episode, there's no intentional creepiness from any characters though, because it's not like Elizabeth knows that if she gets pregnant, she's going to give birth to her mother. She doesn't know that.
No.
No. She doesn't know that, and it's not like Charlotte gives birth to her daughter going, oh, that's my mother I've just given birth. No, she doesn't know that either. So no one knows this.
No, of course not.
So
I'm sure they will.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're going to find out. But they make this very clear at the opening, and because we see Elizabeth in the future looking at old photographs, and it's this like we saw one that Noah had from clearly the same set, and I mean, it's not necessarily instantly completely recognizable that it's her. She actually in the photo she looks more like her younger kid self than she does present, future self, but it's more just that this is clearly her looking at memories. This is clearly what this is.
It's her looking at memories, and then if you weren't sure, it does a direct cut.
Yeah. Between
her, Charlotte, and the younger Elizabeth.
Yeah, it does some split frames. It does,
Dark is excellent at always making it clear the intention, even if the picture itself. Let's just pretend that wasn't enough, even though I think it probably was for a lot of people. It makes sure that, you get this, but still without being insulting about it. It does it with like more visual clues rather than just being exposition.
Yeah, well, I think what it did is it established very early on in season one that it would use the split frame to show, even once you knew who people were, to show them in two time periods at the same time. So even when it starts pulling it here, it doesn't feel like they're just speaking down to us to make sure we know. It feels like, no, this is something you use anyway. It's almost like, now we have revealed this, we can now use this for this character too. Because we've been doing it for every other character, especially in season one had a lot of it.
It did, yeah.
So, yeah, and Noah tries to kill Adam, and it introduces this new wonderful idea into the mix. Before we even get to the insanity of the ending, which I'm saving to last.
Oh yeah,
is the idea that Adam knows that presumably, obviously we know for other younger Jonases that he has to become Adam, and they kind of get to that idea themselves. At least middle-aged Jonas does, but Adam's like, no, I know I'm not supposed to die. I know I'm going to be alive later. How Adam knows this, we find out later in the episode because he remembers seeing himself again.
Yeah.
But this idea that if I know I'm going to be somewhere when I'm older, then I can't die right now. And Noah actually goes to shoot him, and the gun just kind of jams or whatever, right? It doesn't fire. And Joe, what's really funny, what this made me think of, and I never thought I'd be bringing up Final Destination 2.
I knew you were going to go to
right?
that
one. on a discussion about Dark, but that was something, because Final Destination, if you don't know what the premise of that movie was, is it was the idea that like all these teenagers or whoever were meant to die, and one of them has a premonition, so they get off the plane that was going to blow up, and because they get off the plane, they all survive, but they weren't really supposed to survive. And death sort of stalks them like a slasher, like an invisible slasher villain, and kills them one by one. But one of the big reveals in the first movie, then that holds true throughout the rest of the movies, is that they always get targeted by death in the order they were supposed to die originally, and whatever the big accident was. In the second movie, it's a big car wreck that happens on the motorway. But one of the things that they introduced in the second movie is that if you're not next on the list, then you actually can't die. Like if you try to kill yourself or someone tries to kill you, something will just intervene.
Will happen.
Yeah, that'll stop. And between the scene with Adam where the gun clicks, and then just middle-aged Jonas just flat out saying to someone that, yeah, like, no, I know I'm going to be alive later, so you can't kill me. I can't die. Like I'm in no danger because I can't die.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating to me is with the thing with when he's trying to shoot Adam, it's not just that it doesn't fire. It seems like it's just not firing, right?
Yeah.
But later in the scene, it seems like the safety's on.
Yeah, I almost take this as like it's never going to flat out just be supernatural. It's always going to be like, oh, you can explain it afterwards. But was the safety actually on when he entered the room? Like, like...
Well, no, I think it's just the idea that he's so caught up in the moment, he forgets to take it off, right? But he was always going to forget to take it off.
Yeah, but it has this thing, because Adam's like, I know I can't die. It has this weird feeling of like, no, fate's intervening to make sure he doesn't die, even though... Like it's really cool stuff, but it does suggest this thing where you can't change things. Although younger Jonas, who we find out it's been about 12 months since we saw him, between when we saw him when he left with old Claudia and then showed up at the end of last episode.
New jacket, yeah.
Yeah, it's been 12 months of training with older Claudia. But he mentions that you can't change big things, but you can change little things, and from that little thing, you might ripple enough effects to change everything.
Stands to reason, because we know little things have changed in cycles.
Yeah.
So yeah, why not?
So presumably killing someone is a big change. You can't just go back and kill someone or something like that.
Right. But the great thing about this is they're never going to be sure if it works or not. Like the idea of, okay, that did change something, but no matter what they do, will the big thing stick? Will it be like they can never change? Or is it, okay, if we change just the right small thing, it will work, but they won't know until they keep trying, right?
Yeah, so they keep trying, yeah.
Yeah.
And Adam's going on about the final cycle again, and we're going into because I think the way Jonas describes it to Claudia is that Adam wants to essentially build a new world, and Noah describes it as like forsaking all of humanity. So it might be that Noah knows even more because of the journal. But given that was old Claudia's journal and she trained young Jonah, I have to expect that he does have the same idea.
Knowledge at this point, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah. But he then counter said, but me and you, we want to save this world. That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting, and I think we'll come back to that conversation when we talk about the final scene. I think it plays into...
Yeah, when we get back to Noah, I've got some more stuff to talk about as well.
Young Noah later, because obviously old Noah here. Well, he's not actually that old, but just between him and younger
The
Noah,
older version, yes.
he does get shot.
By Agnes.
By Agnes, yes, because Magnus and I am pretty confident now this is Francesca that's with him.
Yeah, they've never outright said it, but
she looks more like her.
She looks more like her. They're holding hands at one point.
Yeah,
I'm willing to put money on it at this stage.
Yeah, and then they're working with Adam, but in walks Agnes, who's dressed kind of like they are. She's part of the cult or whatever now, and she kills Noah. What I thought was curious here, though, again, was just the emotion in the scene, because we find out here that Noah's her. Well, we found out before that Noah was her brother. And it was for a split second I'd forgotten about that, and then he kind of like Agnes, and I'm like, oh, that's right, yes, this is. It was so long ago we had that revelation, and it's not been relevant for a while. So
yeah.
I'm like, yeah, your brother and sister, and she shoots her own brother. Could that be a theme that maybe recurs again at some point?
What, family members killing each other? Oh, I'd be shocked.
I was thinking of shooting one's own brother, because there's a lot of people with brothers on this show.
There is, yeah.
A lot of potential brotherly targets. Well, Martha shoot Magnus. Well, no. I mean, I suppose Elizabeth and Francesca are just two sisters, but I mean, they can get a brother. Sure, someone give him a brother. It's fine.
Maybe it's just killing siblings.
Killing siblings, sure. Yeah, maybe we'll get some sibling murder. So we have that. So I'm going to try and focus on like each plot point, because the weird thing is here, because it starts off saying the day of the apocalypse, and then we get like 8 hours, 6 hours, 4 hours, 2 hours to the apocalypse. We go down in twos, and we kind of like everything's kind of counting down. Notably, we're with the exception of the Adam stuff, which is obviously in the 20s. And the future stuff with Elizabeth, which again is a very small part of the episode, everything's in present day 2020. That is the focus of all the plot lines that we're really following throughout the show. And we have, I mean, which one did we begin with? I guess, we
saved Jonas for last, obviously.
Yeah, the problem is that a lot of them really intertwine at various points, where one will jump into the other's plot, because first we have older Jonas, middle-aged Jonas, coming, stranger Jonas, we'll call him. He takes the gun that his mum had, and he goes over to Martha's, and he wants to talk to Martha. He wants to take her to the bunker, and they have kind of a sweet moment, but she kind of like backs out and says, "No, this is wrong. We are wrong. We can't be this." Blah blah blah, blah blah. And he's like, "Okay, but I have to take you somewhere. I have to show you something." And she's like, "No, just leave." So he pulls out a gun and forces her by gunpoint into the bunker.
Yeah, and he's like, look, Jonas is gonna come. Just please, just stay here, no matter what happens.
Yeah, and it makes sense why, because he knows how she dies. He's seen it. He remembers it.
Yes, so, and he's like, he even says just that things are gonna be the same, but I've got to try.
Yeah. So his goal there is to keep her in the bunker so that she will never encounter what she encounters at the end. But we'll save that for when we get to younger Jonas. But so Katharina does come around the house though, looking for Jonas. Doesn't find him at first, but does find all of his stuff, his map, his light, his all this stuff. I actually really enjoyed the emotional beat of her looking through the photo album, because clearly like Hannah's gotten this out since the revelation to like look at it. And
but this is her seeing her son grow up.
Yeah. The final. I thought it was a nice touch that the final day of high school photo that we saw. It did seem like they got a photo of the older actor when he was that age. So that was the time to transition it between the actors, I thought.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because you went from like 12 to 18, and that's the perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
But that was an emotional beat, and then Jonas comes back, having already trapped Martha in the bunker. Although it doesn't mention that to Katharina, of course.
Oh, why would he?
But she wants to know how to use the device, and he's like, "Where did you get this?" Blah 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 blah. And she goes off to try and save Mikkel, because he won't help her, because he's like, "Oh, you can try, but it won't matter." It
can't be done.
Because so this is one of those scenes where I'm like, just say you tried. Like, admit that you tried years ago, because you did. You genuinely did.
And this is where he kind of mentions this idea again of, well, things can't be changed because I already have a future and a past. Those things can't be changed.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same things Adam was talking about essentially at the start.
I guess I kind of wanted him to stick up for himself when she said, "Oh, you just don't want to do it because then you won't exist." But I'm like, no, he made the choice at one point to do that. He was going to sacrifice himself to fix things.
I think it just tells us that Stranger Jonas is significantly more jaded than younger Jonas.
I mean, he's a little bit unhinged. I mean, when he was actually forcing Martha with a gun, it did feel a little bit like he feels.
It's desperate.
Yeah, he feels desperate, and well, I don't doubt his motivations because we know he's just trying to save her, you know. And he's.
But it's no. Do you know what I love about this though? You don't doubt his motivations, but at some level you kind of do because you're like, well, he does become Adam.
He does, and it's worth mentioning.
There is this unhinged, got to be this unhinged slide into that rather than a clean snap.
Yeah, and by the end of the episode, you know, he knows he has to go and save Magnus, Francesca, and Bartos, because he goes to save them with the machine, and it makes it. We know he's with at least two of them, and you know, as Adam, and that maybe stands to reason as well that the other guy that died at the start of the season was indeed older Bartos, if he was also with them.
Could have been.
So it makes sense that they're together, and he knows he has to go and save them, but you know, it's like if you really wanted to change things, then you could. Because this is the thing, like they were going to die because they weren't in the bunker. They either had to time travel away or die. That was the options here.
And it's the idea that he goes, well, I can change things and let them die, or I can save them, and he's not willing to let them die. And I think it's something that Adam said at the start is how we don't really have choice because we've already made the choices, so we're not free to do that, to make those choices, even though we think we are. They've already been made. So every time, you know, he makes this choice to save them, it's because he can't not save them, even though he knows that, you know, by not saving them, he'd be changing things.
Yeah, but he only always makes that choice because it is the choice he would always make, if that makes sense.
Exactly.
Because I wouldn't phrase it the way it's like, oh, you don't have a choice. Well, you do, but you're just who you are, so you're always going to make the same choice.
Exactly. Which is what I think from Adam's jaded position.
Yeah.
It's, oh, that's no choice at all.
Yeah. Yeah, someone's going to have to take a risk and let people they care about to die so that they can alter
so
things.
That they can force a change.
Yeah. Because theoretically, he could have here if he had just stayed in the bunker.
Yeah.
But of course, he thought he was going to have to at least save some of them, if not, you know.
Well, here's the thing: did a younger version of Jonas, did he ever see the older, you know, Magnus and Francisca?
And no, because
Right.
one of the things I was looking for as well in this episode is if, you know, year older Jonas, young Jonas, was ever going to run into middle-aged Jonas again. Because if he did, that would kind of break like everything they were doing. Because if middle-aged Jonas could run into a younger Jonas during this day, right, as they're running around doing things, you would think this is the point where middle-aged Jonas, now that younger Jonas has met Adam, where he'd probably have a bit more advice to offer, or they would, you know, coordinate in some way, but they never do. They are both in the house at different times, of course, over the course of the episode, but they never actually interact or have a chance to share notes.
But what I was going to say is, you know, he says, you know, he'd have to let them die to force a change. The beauty of it is he wouldn't know if that would force a change. He wouldn't know for sure that he doesn't always let them die. So him going, no, I'm going to save them, he might think that's the one that's making the change.
Yeah.
It's weird because he doesn't have enough knowledge to know that they have to be saved, you know, to continue the cycle. Sure, younger Noah tells him that he saves them, but he doesn't really have any reason to trust or believe him with any certainty.
Yeah, younger Noah shows up after. No, it's not. It's not. It's middle-aged Jonas meets younger Noah. Younger Noah shows up in the house. This is before younger Jonas comes back to the house, and yeah, tells him what he needs to do. He gives him a letter as well from Martha.
Yes.
Which we never get to see. Or I was expecting to hear it by the end of the episode, and I'm just realizing now we never did. We never actually got to see it.
No, we didn't. So we're saving that.
And it was folded the same way that Clausen's letter was.
It was, yeah.
Looked very similar, stationery-wise, colouring, all that. Looked very similar.
Yeah. Again, with the yellowed paper implying it was old.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. Claims it's from Martha. I mean, you could debate. And maybe it's Martha's letter that, like, no, you have to go save these. Save them. Go save the others. Like, they need to be saved. Of course, there's the question of which Martha has sent the letter, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things that Noah says here is he's like, oh no, we're gonna be friends, kind of thing, and he goes, oh, and at the end of it, he goes, and and at the end of all this, you're gonna betray me. Like, he already knows that there's that betrayal coming.
Well, that was the other thing about Noah's conversation with himself, is that he says, I wish I could tell you to do things differently, but if you do things differently, then I'll never be standing here doing what I'm about to do. I'll never have this chance to do what I'm about to do because I wouldn't have experienced and went through the path.
Obviously, he's thinking, I'll never get this chance to kill Adam.
Yeah.
But this idea that the whole time he's known that Adam was going to betray him, he just didn't know about what or when or specifically or what exactly it was. And it wasn't until he saw the pages, the final pages, where he's like, "Oh shit, he knew the whole time."
Which is much later, for his
decades.
Life. Yeah, this is like 3 decades of his life until he finds out what he was waiting for.
Yeah.
And what presumably the future, or I imagine Elizabeth has to go to the past because it looks like they're in a very, very happy climate in those photos, not in futuristic, apocalypse land.
Yeah, I agree. I think she has to go to the past. I think that might happen at the end here, to be honest with you.
Because they're in the bunker. They all get. Yeah. We didn't see that. We see Charlotte and older Elizabeth seeing each other, much like we did at the end of last season with young Helga and Jonas in the room.
Yeah.
We see a very similar thing in the plan. So yeah, I don't want to get to the last scene with Jonas and Martha and all that, but
the new gorgeous CG effect we have in this episode of the silver trails of light.
Oh yeah, very pretty, very pretty.
Like totally different to the black spheres and the shiny shapes that makes, but this was kind of ethereal and totally different.
Yeah, and it kind of it led Katharina is at the door, so. I presume, and because what's the important thing, before she gets there, younger Jonas and middle-aged Claudia have reactivated the bridge, and in the same way that middle-aged, because young Jonas is like, oh, middle-aged me turned this off thinking that would fix things, but it didn't break the loop, it just turned off the bridge, so we're going to turn it back on, and seemingly using the time device inside the bridge itself is what seems to activate and deactivate it.
Yeah, that's what happened last season, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't think we understood exactly at the time what the device was doing, because at the time we weren't even sure it was actually a time machine. We just knew it was related to everything that was going on. Whereas,
but now in hindsight, we've seen it twice. That seems to be the key.
Yeah, because we've seen it being used independently all over the place, of course, this season.
And drop dead all the birds.
Drop dead all the birds, yes. But this is this leads to the trail, because they've got the trail at one point, and then. I think when this is happening, we see it in the bunker with Martha, who's still in there at that point, and we see her see the trail. This is time, kind of the time bridge being reactivated. But later on, when the apocalypse is happening, there is some of that again as well, in the caves. So, which is maybe just it's saying, well, it's not turning the bridge off, this apocalyptic event, but it is maybe resetting the cycle. Like this idea that. Because I guess if there is a loop, right? If there's a loop, and every time we go through the whole loop, that's a cycle. So there has to be a point, and seemingly the apocalypse is the point where.
What I love about this, though, is even though that's the end of the cycle, right? That's the point that signifies the new cycle. It's not actually the end of the loop because we have all the stuff in the future in the 50s.
Oh yeah, no, like that's the thing. The loop's infinite, but there has to be a point in the loop you define as the beginning and the end, and because it's not the birth or death of anyone. It's not like the start, because we're going to have characters who are still where they are. We're going to have other characters that are still what they've been doing, but the idea that it's not beholden to any one person's beginning. It's this is the point where, because of what happens at the plant and the apocalyptic event itself, because keep in mind, those barrels that are down there were put down there in the 80s because of an event in the 80s in the plant, and when they opened them, Clausen's a bit of a dick. Charlotte's heard about this, she's raced to I love how she's telling Voller all this, and he's just kind of like, From the future, you say?
I love the first time she just like blurts out, like, oh yeah, Jonas told me. It's like, oh, you found Jonas? It's like, oh no, he came back from the future. She just says it just so casually.
Yeah.
And he's just there going, what the hell is she talking about?
She doesn't have time to explain to this one-eyed idiot what's going on, and
he is the hero of the show.
He just kind of like goes along with everything, and then when they're in the plant, and obviously they all see the ball form, and then it completely just goes woof and shrinks and implodes. But then the new like window opens, and we see Elizabeth. So and they have this moment where they almost touch hands, and it's almost like them touching fingers is what maybe even
the visual that maybe I read this slightly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it seemed to me Charlotte got sucked in.
You mean I probably have to watch it in like slow motion just to
just the angle, the way it looked. Maybe it was just the effect.
I think
kind of looked like that to me.
I think she survived. I feel like she's not just dead. I mean, I feel there is more to learn about Clausen, but at the same time, I could see him being dead, and we'll just find out other ways as to the other parts of the story that need filled in. Maybe from Alexander. Although Alexander was presumably dead because he was just in the in the police station.
Yeah, we could learn about it from the other side though, as to who's sending the letters and why.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The thing is, whoever's sending the letters also wants this to happen, right? Because this directly his investigation directly causes these barrels to be opened, which starts the apocalypse. So
that's true. Yeah, they've got an incentive to do it. So that actually points it at Jonas or Adam, doesn't it? It really does.
It does, assuming that it's all just him behind it all.
Because thinking about this, just in terms of who's alive and who's dead, right? So Magnus, Bartos, and Francesca with older Jonas time travel out. Obviously, younger Jonas travels as well. We'll talk about that when we get to that scene. And then we've got a few people in the bunker. We have Peter with Elizabeth, and we have Claudia with a sick Regina. Because that's the big scene for her. After her and Jonas split up, he says, go to the bunker, make sure the device goes with you so it survives. But she goes and gets Regina first, and it's like, no, I want to save my daughter. And this is a really heartfelt scene, and it paints an image as to why when older Claudia came back, end of last season to speak to Bartos, she didn't want to speak to Regina because she knew she was going to go and speak to her, as a younger self.
She didn't want to undercut that moment.
Yeah, so and it's kind of a sweet moment. And it's one of those things where she'll be like, where did you disappear to? Well, here for me, it's been like a day since I've seen you. So and she takes her down into the bunker, so that's who's in the bunker. So they survive,
who was allegedly the only people to survive, right? We were told only the people in the bunker survived the event.
Well, there's an interesting phrasing there, because it's not so much that no one else survives. It's like essentially the way to read that is anyone who was still in the town only survived if they were in the bunker,
but people got out through time travel means.
So who's a casualty then? The prostitute for sure, dead. Alexander, dead. Unless we're told other things later that saved them. But
I would assume that the prostitute, Alexander, Clausen, Charlotte, I'm willing to put money on got sucked in, but not not 100% on that, obviously.
I think Charlotte's far too interesting a character, given what we know about her now, to not have her at all. I mean, obviously we have time travel, so we'll see maybe some of these characters at younger ages or whatever, but...
So here's the thing. Elizabeth, in the future, has obviously already had her relationship with Noah. Because she's got those memories.
Way post-Noah, yeah.
Yes. So she has already given birth to Charlotte. So does she already know that... Is she aware that her mother is her daughter?
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
Because that'll be a fantastic reunion if she is aware.
It goes back to, did Noah know that Charlotte was his daughter this whole time? Because if he did know, then she probably knows too.
Yeah.
If he didn't, then she probably doesn't know. Which is actually the other person who's in the bunker that's important is young Noah. Noah goes in the bunker as well.
Yes.
And he even actually has a moment where he kind of looks at young Charlotte. No, not young Charlotte. Young Elizabeth. And it's obviously a moment to say to us, they're going to eventually have a relationship. It's a little bit weird right at this moment because he's like 18 and she's like 12. But
it's one of those things that plays weird at that moment. But in 15, 20 years' time, sure.
I have to wonder if older Noah's actually said to him that he's going to have a thing with her, and that's why he kind of like realizes it's her and is like, oh,
Maybe, yeah.
yeah,
But it's like, and it's one of those things that he'll have a thing with her because he knows he has to. Kind
yeah.
of.
But it's not that he's going, oh, look at this 12-year-old. It's like, oh wait, this is the person that's going to become,
Yes,
my
absolutely.
wife or whatever.
Because we know he is. It's interesting that he's always posed as a priest because he really does have faith in what's going on with Adam, the Church of Adam,
Mm.
because even knowing that okay, Adam's gonna betray you, he still is quite devout in everything. Despite that, it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm still of the mind that we're going to see different versions of things next season, although it's maybe not in the way that I thought we were going to, based on what I was speculating, these past several episodes. But so yeah, that's important to set all that stuff up. Who's alive, who's not, who how people were saved, and whatever else we've got going on here. As Connor goes to close a window or something.
It's getting real stuffy in here.
Oh, is it okay? So are we at the point now where we want to talk about young Jonas and the rest of his plot? Have I glossed over anything else with other characters? Because obviously there's some stuff with like Peter, like try and find Charlotte and Francesca because he's worried about them.
Yeah, but nothing that has any true consequence in the sequence of events. We've got to the end point, and that was the important part.
Yeah, and I'm going to, and just to reiterate again, just make this clear at the end here. I do think Katharina survived because I think because she was going through the bridge at the time of
she's somewhere else or somewhere else.
Yeah, I have to assume that she was protected in the bridge, or she was already out into whatever when she.
Yeah, the way it plays doesn't. It's cutting around. It's not necessarily accurate in the timing. She might have come out before the apocalypse started.
Notably, she there's a white light coming from the bridge when she opens the door. That is the last thing we see of her. Which suggests maybe there is something different going on in there than there usually is. So I wonder if it's maybe she was like slingshot somewhere unintentional, or did she actually get to go to one of the time periods that she was expecting to?
Yeah, hard to say. She's definitely somewhere though. Absolutely. Don't think there's any way she's dead.
Yeah. Still expecting the abusive husband of Agnes to turn out to be someone, by the way, just for the record.
Yeah, and we've got to find out who Hannah becomes.
Yeah. I don't know.
This is such a messy family drama.
I know. So younger Jonas, after with Claudia, he goes back to his house, and Martha, after escaping the bunker when Peter and that come in, she makes a run for it.
She bolts, yeah.
And he tries to tell her to stop, but he's not willing to run after her because I'm keeping my daughter here safe. So she actually goes back to the house and to argue with Jonas about what he just did, and talk to him about it, and instead finds Jonas, who's still more or less her age, a year older, but
yeah, but close enough.
Yeah, and she's like, "You really are back."
And it was you on the beach.
And it was you on the beach. Yeah. She gets that it was him for that. That's that one conversation, and she basically throws in the towel and says, "You know what? I don't care about the incest and the kiss."
Yep.
That happens. They're fully.
Well, at least they're on the same page now.
Yeah, she says we're a perfect match because she references this because there's a really awkward scene in season 1 where he kind of shrugged her off when she tried to kiss him, and she kind of understands that now. You knew that was the first time after you knew.
Yeah.
And that's why your whole demeanor changed. But they have this kiss, and then in walks Adam. Because obviously we do get one scene in the 20s where Magnus and Francesca get him suited up to walk through the God particle. We don't know where's he going. Who knows? And he walks into the house, and Martha's like, "Who's that?"
And I was like, "Why don't you tell her, Jonas?"
I was like, "No, I think I won't. You lied to me, you prick."
he's relishing in being evil here.
Yeah, well, because this is what happens. He shoots Martha because the pain from this is what ultimately leads to him becoming who he is. So he believes he has to do it. Meaning that it really is Jonas's fault that Martha's dead. It just is.
Yeah. And I love this because it's not just that he thinks he needs to do it because it's this is how it happens. Although I'm sure he does believe that as well. This is genuinely though because he wants to become this version of himself because that's who he is now, and he's like, well, I can't become me unless I do this.
Yeah, that's a really interesting way of looking at it. Is that he wants to still be him. So
Yeah,
in order to do that, he has to inflict the pain upon his younger self. So Martha dies, and then it's actually at this point we get the big montage where they lift the lid off the barrel, and the substance that's in it, whatever it is, begins to form into the god particle. Goes through all. We talked about all the stages already, but it's that becomes it.
yes.
So it's interesting to me that they were able to contain this in the 80s. Like, stuff was happening and they were able to, like, quickly
Just put a lid on it, pour in some concrete.
Yeah. Well, the concrete only just happened.
Graphite while you're there.
Because the concrete happened recently, right?
Yeah, with the decommissioning.
Yeah. Because up until then it was in the cave.
Yeah, because Alexander and the one-eyed cop did it.
Mm. Yeah, as he fesses up to as well. So we get the montage going around everyone, and obviously with the show's ending, we see people like bubbling out of time as the wave hits them, and that's kind of how we end the episode with the one particular. Well, obviously we see middle-aged Jonas and the kids do this. So, but we come back to our full scene, a proper scene with young Jonas. He's over dead Martha's body. So. He's over dead Martha's body. I can't not think of Batman. Okay.
I know.
I cannot think of Batman.
Look, I've been cracking Martha jokes all season. They're just on a silver platter.
There should be like a string of pearls hitting the floor when she gets shot. Like, I'm just going to say it right now. This is basically what if Batman went back in time and killed his own parents. So this is essentially what it's saying. So that he would always become Batman.
Batman was Joe Chill the whole time. Joe, I feel like I've actually read this story.
It's probably been in Elseworlds at some point.
Yeah, I got like major deja vu when you said that. Like I've seen that.
Didn't it happen not that long ago? I feel like there was a storyline during Tom King's run with Booster Gold where I think it was like Flashpoint Batman or someone tried to do it. Like,
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It might have been that. Maybe I'm thinking of the Teen Titans Go movie.
Oh, sure, yeah. There's the running joke where they go back and stop all the superheroes from existing because they take away all the tragedies, but then they have to reinstate the timeline, so they have to go back and do all the bad things. So they're like, yeah, we'll have to go back and kill Bruce's parents, yeah.
Yeah, that's delightful.
Yeah, well, you got to do what you got to do. So... so we see a figure walking in behind them, and it's very obscure. We see like dark clothes. We can't really tell anything. And then Jonas turns around and is like, and he kind of like backs away in shock, like who this is. And then we get to see it. We get to see her. We get to see Martha.
Different haircut.
Different haircut. I was going to say wig Martha because it looked like a pretty obvious wig.
I mean, it does, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, different haircut. And the first thing she says is, "I am not who you think I am." And I'm like, okay. Where are we going with this?
And Jonas goes, what time are you from?
Yeah, and this is the beautiful thing about this scene to me, because so much of the first season is every time someone said, "Where is Mikkel?" and then the question is not where, the question is when. I love that she says the question is not when, the question is what world I'm from. I'm like, yes,
like, what a can of worms.
Multiverse. We're doing it. There's alternate versions.
There is nothing we love more than a good multiverse, is there?
Well, Joe, what's funny is that this show has been so much about the loop and like predestination and like things happening because they've already happened and being in the loop and the not and blah 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 blah, that we kind of ruled out the idea that there was other it wasn't like diverging timelines,
right?
So like we're from a different world, and she has like a sphere that turns out to just be, if not just a time device, maybe it might also move, dimension to dimension.
I assume this is the device Adam was referring to.
The final,
the next stage of the machine.
Sure, the final phase, yeah, because it has the similar things that pop out like doing the big version that we see in the suitcase. But it starts off as just a sphere, and they kind of pop out the side, and it kind of clicks and clicks, and then it does the thing.
And I assume this does multiversal travel as well as time.
It may very well do that.
Here's the question I have at this stage. Before we go any further,
Sure.
did this always happen? Is this a new thing in the loop,
Oh,
or is it?
of course you go there first. I was going to get there at the end. Look. Here's the thing. Adam leaves and says you'll know what to do. And he knows that he's going to survive somehow, which would suggest that maybe it did always happen. But at the same time, I love the idea of someone coming from a different version of Earth is actually something he could never have predicted. But if you go back to what they were talking about earlier about Adam believing in getting to a new world, is that because he knows about alternate worlds, alternate Earths?
Is it more literal? When he's saying, there'll be a new world for us.
Yeah.
Is it more literal than like a fresh start, which is kind of what it always sounded like he was talking about?
Yeah, it sounds like, we can go to another version of Earth where the apocalypse didn't happen. And it seems like Elizabeth believes this because she in the future, I remember Jonas was like, the paradise you promised them is a lie. Is the paradise simply going to Earth 2 where the apocalypse didn't happen
and where all their loved ones are still alive,
and that's why Martha exists and why she's still alive, which begs some interesting questions. Of all the characters we've got, of all the connections we've got, do we get duplicates now of all of them in season 3?
I know. And here's the thing, does this make Adam right? If this is verifiable proof of the quote unquote paradise, where everyone's still alive.
And if it did always happen, this would be why he knows about it, because he goes there with...
Exactly.
Yeah. So he probably does, but I do love the idea of, this being the thing that he couldn't have known. This is the thing. The version of Adam that's growing up and has been through all this, in theory, it's the version that our young Jonas is going to become. But if this is the time that it breaks the loop, then
things can diverge.
That's not necessarily true. It'll be a big deal when things eventually do break the loop in some way. When we get proof that no, this thing changed.
Yeah.
No longer can this person become that person because of this.
Yeah, but then again, it has that ripple effect where it kind of wipes everything out, doesn't it? So, I mean, it could be that there is no end to the loop per se. They just escape. They just get to another world.
But of course, that's
rather than undoing changes.
But that's what Claudia and Jonas believe, is that they can undo the loop. Do they think that they can eventually wipe it? And then it becomes this interesting question: are they essentially then refugees on Earth 2? Is it right to just because we screwed up so badly, we should be accepted on Earth 2? Or so Earth 2 has to be involved in some way, and enough that this Martha knows to come to this Earth and talk to Jonas. And is there time travel on Earth 2?
I love the idea that Earth 2 is identical, except it's Martha instead of Jonas.
Okay.
The idea that a couple of characters, the story's the same, just a couple of characters are playing different roles.
Let's say there's no time travel on Earth 2, right? How did Martha get involved? How did she end up here?
Well, I mean, my immediate thought is Adam. Yet post Adam of whatever we've seen yet, Adam who has realized his final vision of the next stage of his device, the golden sphere, if you will, has then traveled to Earth 2, given it to Martha, given the letters to that we're speculating might have been Jonas, given the typography, etc., and kind of set this in motion himself.
Yeah, because that makes me think the letter that Jonas got earlier told him about this second Martha. Or, I mean, he'd remembered it. Well, this is actually the one reason why I think it might be a new thing, is that I don't know if I believe that middle-aged Jonas remembers a second Martha popping up. Nothing about what he does or his demeanour or anything feels like he knows about an alternate world. He's never mentioned anything.
I would say maybe it's a case of he does, but he comes to believe that's not his Martha. It's not the same.
Okay, sure, but it's almost a bit much to believe that in all the talking and questions that he's been asked of, this season, last season, especially once people got more caught into what's going on and they're asking him serious questions about, where did you come from, where did you go, what's been happening, that he's been explaining the rules of the loop and the knot and the war with Adam, and he has never once mentioned as extra whole like branch of the whole the rules where there's a separate Earth where like like and let's say
It could be that's why part of what betrays them all. He's the only one who ever knows. So he never tells anyone.
Well, here's the question then, right? So middle-aged Jonas, let's say he knows all this. He knows that he's been to Earth. Assuming they actually travel to another Earth, they might not. They may just go back in time with that sphere. They might just travel to a safer time.
Yeah.
But let's say he does at least know of the other Earth and whatever. Why does middle-aged Jonas? Why does he not like? Because he's still determined that he can fix the loop and doesn't even bring that up, right? So why does he eventually change to wanting to see that as the evacuation plan of saying this is how we save things? Like, why does it seem to be not be a thing that he wants to even explore, talk about, or like, no, we can still fix this loop?
I think okay, so going on my notion, if you will, theory was putting it too boldly. Notion that maybe he spends some time with this Martha and decides, what, that's not his Martha, right? And she doesn't replace her. Which is why he kind of puts it aside. It's like, no, that's not the plan. I want to save it. I want to undo it. I want to save my Martha as he sees it. But then eventually he becomes jaded and he's like, right, I see no other option. And, this is where he becoming unhinged, sliding into becoming Adam.
I think it's going to be more to it, though, than just Adam recruiting. I mean, I'm sure that may be a factor in what happens. I do feel like we're going to get... honestly, here's my prediction for Season 3. Episode 1 of Season 3 is just an episode on the Earth 2. We'll barely see any of our characters. We'll see the Earth 2 versions of characters.
Yeah, we might see young Jonas.
I could see him not even popping in until the end of the episode. I could see it.
Yeah.
I could see it being, here's what life is like in this world in 2019, 2020, whenever they want to go to, and just see how is it different. We'll see Ulrich again. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, where I thought we were going to see like things play out again in 2019. I don't think we're going to get that now, but I think we're going to get essentially how do things play out on Earth 2 with all these same characters who are not dead now.
Yeah. I mean, does Jonas exist on this world? Because if the time loop never happened,
yeah. I mean, if you go with the time loop never happened, the Jonas wouldn't exist. So how do
Jonas doesn't exist?
Charlotte
doesn't exist,
or Elizabeth, which obviously, but
by proxy, obviously.
Actually, on that subject, Francesca wouldn't exist either.
Yeah, you're right.
That would also wipe her. Like this loop that we talked about with those two also includes her because she won't exist either.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. Elizabeth is both her sister
and her grandmother. Oh, that'd be a great excuse for your younger sister to start bossing you around. It's like, look, listen here, Missy. I'm your grandmother.
Peter is both her father and her son-in-law.
Yeah. It's less weird, isn't it?
That's less weird, but I mean, it's still weird.
Yeah.
Oh dear, so good.
It's just, you said that like it was a big thing, but coming after she gives birth to her own mother,
I know, but we just never mentioned Francesca throughout the whole conversation. We should probably point out that she would also be wiped from existence.
Yeah, and how does that affect Magnus, for example?
Yeah, that's probably why he's maybe on board with making sure things happen, because he's like, no, I want my girlfriend to still be around.
Yeah.
So yeah. My prediction is, I mean, maybe not episode 1, but I almost think it will be. I think that's what your cold open is, a season 3.
I think that's what it is as well, but if not, it'll be somewhere in the middle, where you see, the events of that Earth.
Yeah, and it'll be a full episode dedicated to just following those characters, and we'll get introduced to their version of this character, that character. And if there is a time loop in Earth 2, if they also have timey shenanigans, and let's say Martha's, kind of, as you said, kind of the Jonas of that world, where she's the one that's more involved in it, then what wacky shenanigans have been on over there that are different from our time loop?
Yeah.
And has anything else from their Earth affected our Earth? Like, does the time loop exist to begin with because of some sort of multiverse breach? Like,
do we end with a crisis-style merging of Earths?
The incident in the 80s, for example, what caused that? Was that something to do with Earth 2? Like, was that like? I don't know.
So many possibilities. How long are we going to wait for Dark?
They said they're shooting. I I think now in 2 or 3 weeks. So they should hit 2020. So is there any obvious date? Because the date this season came out was the date that Michael committed suicide.
No, I'll tell you. I said the 27th of June, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
For the because that's the apocalypse.
Because that'll be 2020, yeah.
Yeah, 27th of June, 2020. That's the date I think they're aiming for.
If they make it or not, it's another question. But
no, I know.
Yeah.
I think I said that back in episode 1 when we first saw that date. I'm sure I said that on the video. I stick by it. I think that's the date they want to hit. Maybe it's not feasible. Maybe they can't make it.
I mean, if they're shooting in a couple of weeks' time, because it was 4 weeks, the director or the creator said a couple of weeks ago. So if they're shooting in 2 weeks' time, I think that's hittable. Because I mean, it's still July. It's only the start of July.
It is, and it's not like super post effects heavy.
No. I mean, other than the big bubbles, time bubbles.
But there are things there, but compared to some other things, they're relatively easy. Speaking.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing Stranger Things right now, and that definitely has a lot more like creature effects and stuff like that, and whatever.
So I think it's very feasible. I think that's the date they would want to hit. If it was me, that's the date I'd want to hit for sure.
Unless there's an important date in season 3 we can't predict yet.
There's a possibility.
Like, you know,
can't discount that.
The date they like fix the loop or something is like the August the 3rd, so that'll be August the 3rd. But we won't understand that until we actually get to the end of the season, kind of thing.
Yeah, can't dispute that at all. But right now, I'm putting my money on 27th of June, 2020. Looking forward to it.
Yes, I'll try and rewatch season 2 before season 2.
You know what? I might as well.
You say that now. You're going to whinge.
I'm pretty sure if you go back to the end of season 1, I'd said, I'm definitely gonna have to rewatch season 1 before season 2 hits. And
you're going to have to rewatch both. You can't just rewatch season 2.
No, I know. I think I got by okay, all things considered. Especially after the first episode. First episode, I was kind of like easing back in, but once I got in, I was like, okay, things are flooding back. Maybe there's some smaller things I've forgotten over the past 18 months. Very possible.
I like opening the multiverse, and like how does that affect like how much of what we've already seen is affected by the fact that Earth 2 might be intervening or touching, like the contact from Earth 2, and the idea that, okay, we're in a loop on this Earth, but if we go over to Earth 2, are we just instantly out of the loop? But Jonas has to come back if we're going to still continue the loop. So again, assuming that he's actually went somewhere. I mean, it could just be that Martha is just now stuck here. She can't go back. Maybe this device doesn't
It's possible, yeah.
travel Earth. Maybe she ended up here for whatever reason. So does he end up spending time with this Martha? Did they live a reasonably, because we always see them between these like 30-year gaps, give or take. So is there a 30-year gap where he does actually just spend that with this Martha? Like,
I'm thinking it wouldn't be that long, because obviously I think he's still. Let's assume, just for the sake of this argument, let's assume this has always happened, and he's still going to go through this with her now and become the stranger. I think it'll be similar to, okay, he just spent a year with old Claudia. Maybe he spends a year, with Martha, on Earth too.
Yes, although I'm hoping to see a lot more of that than the Claudia.
What I liked about not seeing everything with Claudia though is we already knew everything that he's learned, for the most part.
I'm sure he's got some nuggets that we don't, but yeah.
Right. There's the odd thing that he can pull out, but a lot of it would have just been her telling. It would have been exposition of things we already knew.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. But so with Martha, everything will be new. Everything will be
fresh.
Yeah. It's because I think just last episode I said though, when he came back, it was like for the first time he had more information than we did, and he still may have some more than we do. But this immediately put him back in our position where he's like, wait, what the hell? And now he's going to have to learn about this like element of it, as we will next season, and that's kind of exciting. So I don't even know what else to add about this. No. Like,
this is great. This was a fantastic season of TV.
And I'm calling it Earth 2. And the way she says it as well, the question is, which world am I from? I mean, that it doesn't have to be more than 2, but it does definitely sound like she knows us more. Like, it's not like I could be from 100 different Earths. I could be from 1,000,000 different Earths.
Yeah, like, what year is it, right? When you're asking, what time are you from? You're not saying, well, are you from just now or from the 80s? He could have been asking, well, when have you come from? Any time in between.
Yeah, I mean, now you can read her answer just as, which world am I from? The worlds in question being this one and hers, and that's just the
You
only
can,
two.
yeah, you were just playing with it, but
Yeah,
the implication I think is there is more than just the two.
and then
If there are two, there are more.
but then here's
I
the question. Then here's the question: is like whatever's happened that's led to her being on our Earth, if she's from a different Earth, like can is there travel between all the Earths, or is it just because there was an incident between our two Earths that connected them that means there's some at least one person has traveled? It's not so much that we can just hop, Earth to Earth to Earth to Earth. It's just these two have a bridge.
Yeah,
Now,
when
much, much,
when the apocalypse opened, did it open up a bridge just between these two?
yeah, much like the time bridge itself in the caves is just between these like set times. Is there just one bridge between this Earth and that Earth, and that's it?
I'm going to tell you now, right now, no. There's 3 points. There's at least three worlds.
There's a third world, okay.
Yeah, everything's been done in 33-year cycle. For the first season, it was the three time periods. The cave leads in three directions, three Jonases. I'm I'm thinking there's a third world.
Because that's what we need. 3 copies of all these characters at all these ages.
I know, but the show loves its threes.
I'll tell you this, I don't think we're going to get as much of the 50s and the 80s next season. I think that stuff, obviously we're expecting a bit more with Hannah, and we're expecting a bit more with, say, Agnes, and, seeing what they do
Just
with...
a few little things here or there, yeah.
I feel like, for the most part, those time periods have given us the plot points we need for the show overall, and I think it's smart not to really go back there too much, because we're going to have to explore this new world next season.
Yeah, but there are still things like Elizabeth and Noah have to be somewhere in the past together, and then Elizabeth end up in the future.
Oh yeah, well, we can follow them just kind of on their own, I suppose. But what I mean is I don't think we're going to have like a 50s dedicated episode or an 80s dedicated episode. I think
No, we're going to have the Earth 2 episode instead.
Yeah. So I think they're done. We'll get a small, just kind of like how we had like a snippet of the 20s in this one, or we had a snippet of the future in this one. But I don't think we're going to be getting a lot of focus in the 50s and 80s next season. I think for the most part, because in the 80s, Egon is gone, he's dead, Claudia's already left. In the 50s, okay, we have Hannah and Egon's thing. Maybe we'll see a bit more of that and find out who she's going to become, because that makes sense. But I don't expect any more investigation in the 50s, because that feels kind of wrapped up now at this point.
It does feel done, yeah.
All that stuff does kind of feel closed off in terms of the loop.
I think we might see a little bit more with Ulrich in the 80s, kind of post being captured again. Just a little something to end it with, maybe.
Yeah. Well, if Katharina ends up in the 80s, she goes to see him.
Yeah, we've got wherever Katharina ends up. But I mean, for all we know, that could be anywhere. I assume it's one of the 3 points because it's the tunnel. But like you said, there was the white light. Maybe something was different this time.
I have to assume she's not in the 80s because she would go to see Mikkel, and I don't think that's happening.
That's too easy, isn't it?
Yeah. So she's either in the 50s.
I think that would be interesting, because if she's in the 50s and gives her name as, Katharina Nielsen, Hannah already gave that name. Hannah's already got that identity.
Yeah, she's literally stolen her identity.
Yeah.
Which plays into her stealing like her husband and her son and
exactly.
everything else.
I think there'd be something fascinating to go down that route.
Yeah. Yeah, she should have given older Jonas a hug and be like, "Oh, come here, grandma." Give a nice pat in the back.
That'll happen next time.
Oh, you think? We're going to get that.
She might have accepted eventually.
And if that's the case, like, who does Katharina end up being then? Like, if we see more of her in whatever time period.
Yeah, maybe no one. Maybe she just becomes a spinster in the 50s.
Maybe. And again, because the thing was going off though, and the apocalypse was happening, she could be in any time period. It might not even be one of those two. She could have been slungshot to the future. She could have been slungshot to the 20s.
I was playing on those two just because of like I said, it was the bridge, but there is no guarantee of that. Like I said, things were different this time.
Yeah, there's extenuating circumstances in this example.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. I think that's as much as I can do.
Yeah, I think we love this show. This season was maybe better than the first. You watched the first again recently, so you probably have a better.
Yeah. Joe, what's funny about it is that it's a hard question to answer, because I think season one. Season 1 was a lot slower paced because it was like slowly introducing the idea of time travel even a thing, and characters weren't really aware of it. This season was, no, more characters are aware of it, and we're getting more wacky back and forth with how we deal with it. I mean, we revealed more versions of characters and so on and so on. I think I think it's almost a taste thing as to which one you like more. I think taken as a whole, it makes. I think this entire show, when it's a full 26 episode show, it'll probably have a nice progression throughout the whole thing.
I think I was gonna say. I think the reason I said season 2 was maybe better is just because it's better because it's building on top of season 1, right? It's better just because it hits the ground running. Everything's already sorted. It's okay. The answers that were, and then the questions that we had in season 1, they're answered. They're great. We've got all these new questions now that we're building on that are arguably more fascinating because they're more complex, but they only work because we already had the answers in season 1 of all that stuff.
Yeah, I said this in a previous episode, but it's insane how little we got of the actor who played Ulrich this season, just because he was such a big part of season 1. Of course, Earth 2 Ulrich will let him do a lot more stuff next season, I imagine. Yeah. But it's funny.
Oh, man.
And I almost wonder as well, as a certain because I think the actress who played Claudia, middle-aged Claudia, season 1, she felt a bit more important towards the end because she found a dog and she was starting to put things together. But I wonder if when they cast her, it's hey, season 1 you're going to have a few simple plot lines and it's not going to be super exciting, but season 2 your character really takes off, because it has done. She became so important this season.
How much of the 2019 Regina was there in season 1? I don't recall.
We saw her working at the hotel. There was a scene where Ulrich came by to kind of accuse her of being the one who said that he raped Katharina in high school, and she she laughs and says no. There wasn't a ton of her. She was one of those characters we met in present day. We met her kid version in the 80s, but it turned out that it was her mother in the 80s that was far more important than she was.
Right, but given that she ends up in the bunker here, I'm wondering is season 3, is she more important now?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's a really good question. I doubt she's becoming anyone's grandmother though, just because. Well, I mean, outside of Bartos having a kid, obviously, but just because she's dying. I don't imagine they're going to be in a great place to give her the best, therapy.
Medical care.
Yeah. I just said therapy. I meant chemotherapy, but yeah, you know what I mean. So, yeah, fascinating. The season was very tight. It was 2 episodes less than season 1. Not that season 1 felt like it was too long by any means, because it didn't.
No, but this did feel a little bit tighter. I think it was a bit faster paced. It never felt like it was spinning its wheels at any point. Not that season 1 did either, but because season 1 was a slower burn, kind of got away with that a bit more anyway.
Yeah.
Very little to fault about this season, honestly.
Yeah.
And even my my complaint from season 1 of the soundtrack being overused, there was less of it this season. There was more early on, just kind of reminding you, but it kind of dialed it down more.
The fact is, though, season 1 did the same thing. I mean, season 1 definitely had it be even heavier for longer, but it did the same thing where by the time you got to the end, it wasn't using it as much.
It wasn't using it as much, but I still think it was using it more than this was at the end of this season. I still think, from my memory at least.
I mean, that's what I just said. I said, it was less overall, at all points, but the transition from start to end was the same. It died down a bit more.
Maybe
over the course of the season. But yeah. And also, let me just crack a few Chernobyl jokes here. Well,
okay, I'm at your system.
We had them going in hazmat suits, so we get into the chamber. So I can't go in there, and I'm like, yeah, 3.6 rotogen in there. So what we get in there? Not great, not terrible.
You done?
Yeah.
Anymore?
I'll leave it there. But just let it be known. It was happening.
All I will say is, how we were saying you might get Dyatlov showing up. Now you might get Earth 2 Dyatlov.
Earth 2 Dyatlov. Is this the Dyatlov who isn't shit at his job and actually averted the Chernobyl
comes in
disaster?
what the hell are you doing? Why are you causing the apocalypse? I fixed this on my Earth. He was a wonderful management of the Chernobyl potential disaster led him to have a long and illustrious career in the nuclear industry.
Yes. But it's not even just that he would have stopped it on his Earth. He started it on this Earth to a point, so it'd be more like I just never, I said no. This safety test is not safe. We should not do it. so that's just not.
but there wasn't gross incompetence and negligence, so therefore he had a good career.
Yes. All right. Well, I guess that is the season finale of Dark season 2. Let us know what you think in the comments. I'm sure there's like tidbits and theories you want to throw at us. By all means, do so. You can like and subscribe and all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month and keep all the shows coming. And of course, you can even rate us and stuff like that on your podcast app if you listen to the audio version on the podcast feed. Otherwise, obviously we always like to recommend some stuff at the end of some of our shows. Right now, Stranger Things season 3 just started, also from Netflix. It'll be on the same audio feed as this one. We're also working through A Tool to Die Young over in the Almost Cancelled audio feed. If you're on YouTube, of course, they're all just available in the same place. But we also have Big Little Lies, we have Handmaid's Tale, I'm working through Legion. There's a lot of TV going on right now, and it's not too far away from Dear White People season 3 either. That's coming at the start of August.
And for anyone interested in the the foreign content that we cover from Netflix, we will be getting to 3% after Stranger Things.
Yes, quite right. After Stranger Things is done, we will be starting to chip away at 3% season 3. It just unfortunately landed in the same week as Dark and something else, Till to Die Young, I think. It was kind of we had Dark, Till to Die Young, and then Stranger Things start, and it was kind of right in the middle of that period, and we just couldn't juggle it in. No. So yeah, Dear White People's coming early August, and then like a week later, Glow season 3 is hitting as well. I'll be doing that on my own. So you can look forward to all these various shows coming and reviews. And if you're looking for other time travel, or not even other time travel, but other sci-fi shows, if you go back into your back catalogue, you'll find stuff like Twin Peaks, you'll find The Expanse, you'll find classic Star Trek reviews and a bunch of other stuff. So you go and check some of those out. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla? Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Dark, Season 2, Episode 8. It is the season finale. It's called Endings and Beginnings.